All right, we've had a lot of good practice with the consonants, and I hope you're feeling confident with the consonants. That's something that's important. Now I want to talk about another concept that's very important for us, and that's the concept of a minimal pair or a minimal set. And so as you can tell from minimal, it means something that's just minimally or sort of slightly different. And using a minimal pair, 2, or a minimal set, which would be 3, 4, 5, 6 of these words, it's a way of proving that a consonant or a vowel actually makes a difference in meaning. So one example, I don't know if you have all met very many Arabic speakers, but in Arabic, there's no separate P. So when Arabic speakers are learning English, a lot of times their P, what should be a P, sounds more like a B. So evidently there's a joke among Arabic speakers that Arabic speakers go up to an American policeman, they want to park in a certain place, and what they ask is, can I bark here? Rather than, can I park here? And the police officer says, well, you can bark anywhere you want, but if you park here, you'll get a ticket. So we know, because park and bark are different words for us in English, that they actually make a difference in meaning. And it's using minimal pairs that we want to try to illustrate which sounds make a difference in meaning. So when we create the minimal pairs, we're going to have sort of like a rhyme. It will be a sequence of sounds, and you're going to make the pairs or the sets, you'll just vary one sound in the same position. So for example, and it could be like rhyming, so big, pig, dig. Those are all minimal pairs, and they show us that b, p, and d are all sounds that make a difference in meaning in English. You want to have the same number of sounds. So for example, brig and big would not be a minimal pair because they don't have the same skeleton. They don't have the same number of sounds. But big and rig would be a minimal pair. So in English, it doesn't come up that often, like, well, are these sounds really giving you a difference in meaning? But if you think about the ths, th and the, that's a case where a lot of people have a hard time hearing the difference, quite a hard time hearing the difference. Some people don't even produce much of a difference. But if we can find words that are the same shape and are different only in those two sounds, we can say, yes, although they're sort of close, although you might think it's questionable, in fact, in the word minimal pair, either and ether, we see, in fact, the and the are different sounds because switching them in that same position gives you a different meaning. So ether and either are minimal pairs. Linguists love to make big, big sets of minimal pairs. It's a lot of fun for us. We enjoy it. Making the minimal pairs can be very interesting because it can show you how some sounds are more common and other sounds are quite rare. Or it can show you how certain positions in words, beginning, middle, or end, tend to have certain sounds, and some sounds just don't appear in certain positions, in certain combinations. So let's, even though I haven't fully introduced the vowel symbols yet, I'd like us to play with some frames here, and I'll tell you what they sound like. We're going to add consonants in to make English words that will be minimal pairs or minimal sets. So this first one I've got is just an underline, so that's where we want to play with the consonant, and then an O, and that O sounds like O. So if you think about the consonants that you know, think about what kinds of words are there that you can just substitute in different consonants before the O. For example, bow, B-O-W, dough, D-O-U-G-H, low, L-O-W, So, S-E-W, row, R-O-W, know, K-N-O-W. So not only is this fun, it shows you that, again, the spelling could be quite wide-ranging, but the pronunciation, and therefore the symbol we use, could be quite consistent. Okay, let's go. So if you'd like to go on and think of some more examples with the O, feel free to do that. I'm going to move on to the next one, which has a blank for a consonant, and then ut. So we could have nut, mutt, cut, butt, rut. I can't think of any more right now, but I bet you can. The third one there has got P-I and then a space for the consonant. So that will sound like P. So we could have peel or peer or peed or piece or peas or peep, like a chicken. And the last one is a fun one. So that is the S-E gives you say, and then that is an sound. So we could have satyr, sailor, saner, if someone is saner than someone else, saber, like a sword. So we could go on thinking of those, and if you're finding it fun to do that, go right ahead. That's okay, I don't want to write those. Here are some more frames for you to play with. Let's add consonants here to make minimal. So if you can only do 2, that's a minimal pair. But if you can do more, then that's a minimal set. So the first one there is just a consonant and then the sound oo. So it could be boo, do, the name Sue, place for animals zoo, Lou, the name, rue, the day. Again, lots of things could go in there. And the next one is a consonant and then ish. So you might have dish or fish or wish. Next one is la with a place for a consonant. So what's interesting is, like that, la, that's not a possible shape for an English word. You can't just end with an a, you actually have to have a consonant after that. So this might have laugh, lag, lass, lamb, LAN, local area network. So you can keep thinking of those. And the last one here gives you B, consonant, and E. So biddy, billy. I guess I can't think of that many for that one, but you work on it and see if you can come up with some more. All right. Now I have to say, this is the more challenging part. I really feel like by now you should feel pretty confident in the consonant symbols. If you don't, go back to the sheet, the transcription sheet that gives you all of the symbols and review those. We're going to move on to the vowel symbols now. So something that's fun about English, or maybe difficult about English, is that the variation in English, geographical variation, different countries, different parts of the US, is really a lot about vowels. And so we are going to learn to represent more detail about the vowels because that can help us properly describe someone's variety of English. The other thing with vowels is we're somewhat at a disadvantage because we only have about 5 letters of the alphabet for vowels to start with. So there are a lot more different symbols that we need to learn because in fact there are about 14 different vowels in English. So you can imagine 5 symbols, 14 vowels, plus at least 3 diphthongs. You don't have enough to do it. But we will. In the end of a few minutes, you will have them and you will know what these symbols represent. They're not totally random. There are a lot of ways that you'll be able to remember them. And I will give you my hints. You may laugh at my hints all you like, but they're good hints. So at least consider using them to remember. We'll do whatever hints I have as we go through each sound. So one way that we can represent our vowels in English is through a quadrilateral or a vowel shape. So right now I've got the, let's see, right here, this will be good, okay. These are what we call our point vowels because, look, they're at the points or the edges of the vowel system, okay? So some people might call them corner vowels. They're the most extreme, E, oo, ah, ah. They're the most extreme in tongue position, and so they form the framework for us in English for representing all of the vowels. So what I'll be doing now is going through the individual vowels and filling them in here so you get an idea of how the vowels are related to each other. So there are 14 different vowels in English. This can be really tricky for people coming from another country and learning English because they may not have learned about all the vowel contrasts that we have. And so that's something that truly can be tricky. We do use a lot of different vowels. When a vowel has a single quality throughout, we call it a monophthong. If it has two qualities, or even some languages actually have three qualities within a vowel. So with two qualities, we call it a diphthong. If we had a language that had three qualities, it'd be a triphthong. So most people agree American English has got 14 different monophthong vowels with one quality. And then there's some more argument. Some people say 3 diphthongs, some people say 4 diphthongs, some people say 6 diphthongs. And we'll talk about that. I am much more on the side of 3 real diphthongs, and then other things get a little squishy. But the diphthong has the 2 qualities, so it's sort of a more dynamic sound, an I, an ow, or an oi. Okay, so I am going to add all the monophthongs in here for you. And if you're taking notes, start a clean page. This gets big and you'll want to draw arrows and write examples for yourself. Okay, first vowel here is, it's the letter I. It's what we all know as the letter I, a regular lowercase I. But in phonetic transcription, it makes the sound E. So people who know Spanish will find that the vowel qualities in Spanish are much closer to the sounds in the International Phonetic Alphabet than the sounds in English. Okay, so when you need to talk about that particular sound, the E, you can call it the letter I. You could call it the E vowel. Now, this sound is in words like pea, or tree, or flea, or three. So one of the ways that I like to remember this one is thinking of the dot on the I as a little tiny P. So you could think of it as the P, P-I. So this sound also represents in a word like silly or bunny. It can be used to represent that final syllable, silly, bunny, for that. So that's our E, that's a high front vowel. Our tongue is in a high and front position when we say that. Okay, now the next vowel is sort of the partner to the E. And this vowel is I. And it is written as a small capital I. So it should be the same, these guys should be the same height. So this is a small capital I. This is in words like pig, or thrill, or important. I love to call this the pillar I because it looks a little bit like a pillar, and it is the sound in pillar. So I think that's a high quality way of remembering this I, the pillar. This one, like I mentioned earlier about a, where a can never be the last sound in a word, also with I. No matter how many consonants you put in front of I, maybe you make split, you still need a consonant after that to make it an acceptable word of English. Okay, so E and I. If you have friends who speak Spanish, you might notice that a lot of words that should have an I in them, Spanish speakers will put an E in them. So I know someone who had, she was an ESL teacher talking to some Spanish-speaking students, and she wanted her keys. And she kept saying, "Give me the keys, give me the keys." And they couldn't find the keys, but somebody came up and gave her a kiss. So they weren't really any difference between the E and the I. All right, now we're moving down. We are moving down, and now this is the letter E, which we know, but the sound that it makes is an A sound, like in the word bay, or play, or snake, or bane. Okay, this can be hard to remember. So this letter E makes an A sound. You might like this one, you might not like this one. I think of this as a snake's tongue, like woo, snake's tongue coming out like that, to help me remember that that's going to make the sound that's in snake. But that's an easy one to draw. We know how to draw that one, write that one. Okay, then the close counterpart to the A is this guy, E. So that's an epsilon. And that's in words like bet, or head, or sled, regret, or egg. So perhaps if you say egg like I do and not egg, like some people do, you might think of these as two eggs on top of each other, and remember it's E in that way. And like I, E is also never the last sound in a word. So you're starting to see a pattern where we've got a different symbol, I and E, and those have something funny about them. They require a consonant at the end to make a real word. E and A, we could have three, and they don't require any kind of consonant at the end. And then also the A has to have a consonant at the end, as I've said. Okay, for the A. Now this is a fun one to draw. It's often people's favorite sound. When you are writing this, I'm going to do it just over here. You want to start like that, come here to the middle, cross over, and do that. So it's a little bit like a butterfly, I would say. So practice drawing that. It's very satisfying once you get that down. So that's going to be in words like bat, or tag, or snack. And again, it's never the last sound in a word. It has to have some consonant coming after it. All right, now we're moving over here to the vowels that are produced further back in the mouth. So here's our oo, and it's just a regular lowercase oo. It would be in words like boot, or who, or through, and so you can just describe it as the letter oo. But as this vowel has that partner that sounds similar but is a bit different, the oo also has a partner. That's a great vowel. It's one of my favorite vowels. And that's an And so the you could kind of looks like that with little hooks. So one way to remember it would be the with with hooks, because the sound is in it. That'd be one way to remember. Some people call it upsilon. If you need to, you can use just a regular small capital U to represent it with just those lines up there. But this is it's a great symbol. It shows up in really lovely English words. not a lot of them, but in words that are really important to us, like hook and cook and foot and good and book and pudding. And you'll notice, right, it's a small capital like these guys are, and you always have to have a consonant after it. It cannot be the last sound in a word on its own. Okay, oh, here's another. Some people like to remember it by calling it the pudding U and imagining that that's a little cup with pudding and imagining a spoon in it, that your spoon is going in to get the pudding. So that's another way that you might want to remember it. I like to remember things by food, right? The P-I, the pudding U, egg. It's up to you. If you need these tricks to remember, go for it. Use them. Okay, moving down, we're going to go to O. And this O, regular lowercase o, represents the sound in words like whole or nose or flow. I sometimes think of this just as like the whole, the donut hole. So just O for that. And then we've got the pattern E, I, A, E, U, O, A. We've got an A sound. And this one is often called an open O, or it's really a backward C, but we call it an open O. And that'll be in words like caught, dawn, bought. This is where, so between these two sounds, O and A, we will have trouble. If you are from an area in northern New England where there isn't much difference between them, versus our friends who come from states a little further to the south who might distinguish the O and the A more clearly. We're not going to worry too much about it. It's something that will develop over time to understand those differences and produce them. But so that's our open O, O. We get all the way down to our final vowel here, and that is I call it handwriting A, because that's what an A, lowercase a, looks like in most people's handwriting. That's going to represent the words, the vowel in words like caught, dawn, stalk, father. So that is another good vowel to use. Okay, so we've got our whole structure here. We've got the sides. We'll have some central vowels in a moment, but right now we've got E, I, A, E, A. So if you watched, you could see my mouth opening further as I went lower. E, I, A, E, A. Okay, so that's a high tongue position, and this is a low tongue position. Then in the back, we've got a similar thing. We can do oo, o, ah. And then, so we go from a high tongue position to a low tongue position. These are front, these are back. Okay, now we're going to go to the central vowels, which are vowels you've probably heard of before. Our friend the schwa is in here. Oh, I jumped the gun. Okay. For people who really don't distinguish between those two vowels, which is many Massachusetts, New England, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. People from Rhode Island might distinguish. People from Connecticut might distinguish. There is another vowel kind of in the middle, and it is a reversed handwriting A. And so if you think it would be the stupidest thing on earth for a family to have a son named Don and a daughter named Dawn, because how would you tell the difference? That's the vowel that you probably use. If you personally have Aunt Dawn and Uncle Don, and it's natural, you probably use both of these vowels. We will continue working on that, and you will eventually understand the difference. All right, now we're getting to the central vowels. So here's one that I love. I kind of love all the vowels and consonants. I'm going to put it in the middle here because it's a central vowel. And it is officially called the wedge. but I like to call it the hut because the sound it makes is as in hut. It shows up in words like, as I said, hut, tough, bunch, nut. So it's a nice central vowel. And then it also has a partner, which is the schwa. And the schwa, I bet you've seen before when you learned about dictionaries, you learned about pronunciation, and the schwa looks like that E. So both of these are central vowels. The wedge, or the hut, is one that can be stressed in a word. It can be the most prominent syllable in a word. The schwa, on the other hand, is used for unstressed syllables. So if you think of a word like Mississippi or something like that, where there are some strong syllables and a bunch of weak syllables, schwa might show up in some of those weak syllables. We also have these guys in our colored versions, which might blow your mind, but it's pretty normal, I think, now. So here's this vowel is the vowel. Looks like a 3 with a little R hook on it. A lot of people call it the bird vowel, or you can call it a stressed R-colored 3. And so included within that sound is the vowel and the R. So this would be used in a word like fur, girl, third. So you don't need a separate R. You've got the whole sound with that. And this guy, like this one, there is an unstressed counterpart, a schwa with the little R tail on it. And that's going to be used quite a bit. Sometimes people call it schwar. I don't like that though. It is especially used for a word that has an at the end. So something like a runner or comparative bigger, you would use this to represent that. So now you have all of the vowels. Well, that was a bit of a marathon.